someone say no?
What do you mean?
Well, if a patient says to you, goodness, I'm not, they're not going to say goodness. If they say, no, I'm not going to treatment, I'm tired of it. Who was it that brought up the person? Yeah. Yeah.
You just help them where they're at in the moment. And so like when I was with Kieran, I was like, well, we'll get you to somebody who can help you maybe cut back during the day, and then you're going to go from there.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and you know, I think at some level you can say to that person, you know, that's not what I want for you. You know, showing that you care. That's not really what I want for you, because I think there's effective treatment. I think sometimes it takes several treatment attempts before you know, start to turn this around. None of this is, you know, this is a disease. It's like the other diseases we treat, you know, going ahead and giving them some support. And I want you to know that I'll help you, you know, whenever you're ready. If that's tomorrow, yes. If that's 2 weeks from now, I'll help you when you're ready. And so figuring out some ways to do that with them. Okay. When the patient isn't ready at all, you know, you could write it down and send it with them, but say, well, let's go ahead and get you a bed and hope you show up. Yeah, that doesn't work. So, you know, you're just going to tie up a bed. Or, you know, let's just go ahead and make the referral and go once and see. If they're saying, no, I'm not ready, then that's probably not going to get anywhere. Making sure that when you do refer someone that they're not going to be rejected at the door would be a good idea. And that's easier said than done, and I'm not prepared again to give you the whole ins and outs of the whole system and who takes what. Changes on a daily basis, so it's really hard to keep up. It's one of the other reasons that if you can find a resource where you're referring for further assessment, they're the resource that will know the ins and outs of who takes all the insurance, and that can be a really great thing, okay? If you can't have that, then you're going to have to do a lot of homework and be keeping up on things a little bit more. And again, finally, seeing the patient as resistant or self-sabotaging, you know, oh, well, they're just resistant. I've heard it a million times. Well, yes, that's part of the disease. That's part of where they are. There may be good reasons. Maybe they had a horrible experience in treatment. That happens sometimes. Maybe they're getting so much pressure from families, or they saw their parent go through stigma, and you know, there's just a lot of background, and we don't understand all of what they've experienced. So just kind of trying to keep that empathy in play even at this point, and you know, what could be going on. There's referral resources we've given you here. Readings, some of them were assigned to you for before today, but if you didn't, it's not the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. Videos after didactic, I would watch those videos. They will help you, again, process. What are things that are going to fit for me? You've got to make it your own. It's okay. You don't have to do it just like someone else. But one of the ways we learn is adopting exactly how someone else is doing it and getting through it until we make it our own. So, you know, finding the one you really like and doing exactly what they do is an okay strategy at this point in your training on doing this. All right. Good. What have I forgotten to say?
Nothing. I think that everybody's heard what they need to hear for at least this point. I think what they're, if I know them, because I know y'all pretty well,
And he does.
They want the details of what they have to do. How is it going to all unfold? So These are, we did a little personality inventory when they first got here.
Okay.
And it was not the Yuzu, but it was some Australian version. And this class is about 95% wombat. And wombat is just the Australian animal for type A personality. So I've got a pretty full of wombats.
Right.
Well, no, where do I go with?
Give me the details, let me know exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I'll produce, right?
I'm not gonna get my grade. Not that big of a deal,
Yeah,
but.
you know, this
it's
isn't
a
one of
big
those
deal.
things I can give you every detail to, that you can follow. It's not a recipe. This is not a recipe. It is not a step-by-step, although we've given you an outline. But you still have to make it your own, and it has to come from you. And you have to engage with the patient, and every brief intervention you do is going to be a little different from the next, because your patient's going to be different from the next. So I want you to look at those steps, and we do have some things that the SPs are going to be giving you feedback on that we consider kind of critical elements of any brief intervention, okay? And if you do those, that will be a very good outcome. And then I just love the way Dr. Britton has set this up. You will have some self-reflection because we're never perfect. Sorry, 95% of you who want to be every time. We're not. And so just reflecting on what would I do differently, what did I do well, just as importantly, what do I want to use again, what do I want to discard, what don't I want to use again, how can I tweak something, maybe it was pretty good but it could be a little better, okay? I'll let you take it from here.
Yes.
Well, would you like these packets back that contain the 3 scenarios? Okay.
No. Thank you. You can hit the recycle bin with them, if you have one, I
Well,
hope
yeah,
you
because
have
we
one.
have the main sheet, and I didn't know if you needed all 3 of us back.
Thank you.
First thing on our schedule, we had other things kind of listed. Those things were, I put those in the schedule before additional slides were added into the presentation, so those are out. So we're not behind. It's not like, oh gosh, we have all this stuff going. We are done for what's going to happen today. So as soon as I get through going over this a little bit, we'll be finished up. I posted lots of things on D2A yesterday for this course, so it probably looks like, oh my gosh. Just let me slow it down. It's not that bad. It really is not bad. There are, you got your pre-readings, your pre-stuff. You've done with that what you're going to do. You've heard your in-class presentation, so we're there. So now we're just down to actually doing it and practicing it. You can look at this a lot of ways. You can have a presentation like this, do in-class activities, and you will have learned something, but you aren't going to really learn how to do it as a practitioner unless you do it for real with the patient, and you have to do it more than one time. So this is just your intro to it. For those of you who are going to be a Good Shepherd tomorrow, you can practice it there. You already there's many places where you just need to keep thinking about it and doing it, and you get better. But there are several components listed. I have given you your case for alcohol and depression. You have the evaluation sheet for alcohol and depression that the SP will have in the room, and that's what they will mark off. You also have an instruction guide, which I have up here. You have a grading rubric or grading method on how we're going to do that. I would suggest this. Spend time this evening, just go over your alcohol case. Just read that. That says a lot. Don't do depression. Just don't cloud your mind. Just focus on alcohol. We put a lot of energy on that today so that it's not a mystery box of things. You've heard it. You kind of know what the scene is. Now you have to think about actually engaging somebody from start to finish. The package that you have been given is self-contained. It describes everything about the patient, what you're expected to know, how it runs. I'm going to show you one of them here in a second. We also have kind of general instructions for SBIRT, and I'm going to show the grading method. I'm going to do the instructions in the grading method first. I'm going to walk you through what that one case is, and then after you've seen that, you'll know The students last year, the first one kind of makes you nervous because you don't know what it's like. It's not the classic SPVL. This is a communication technique, and you're going to get a chance to practice it. When they got to the final session, it was like, oh my goodness, the clouds opened, the sky was bright, and it makes a big difference. So I think you'll feel that same way too. The most important thing about the whole deal, don't worry about the grade. And I know I'm saying that, and you're going to worry about the grade, but the way the grading is set up, it is very impossible not to make a very good score on this. It's not about making a score, it's about paying attention and being free to interact in the space. So I have set the grading that we would go very specifically so that you're not in that room going, if I leave this out, I'll lose 10 points and my grade's going to be here. I don't want that in the picture. But I do need you to be attuned and trying. You can't just go in there and I'm just going to see what happens. That's not going to teach you anything either. You don't learn how to do a skill with a patient unless there's a little bit of angst in the picture. That's just part of learning. I'm sorry, I didn't make the rules. But let me walk this real fast. Okay, first thing, review your case and background materials before each session. I say give yourself 24 hours. If you're obsessive compulsive, read it tonight because you can sleep. It's not hard stuff. As soon as you read, you go, oh, okay. And then you won't have to worry about it. Each case, explicit details about the logistics. I only have one logistic on here, which is you arrive 15 minutes before your session, just like we've done before. We don't need gaggles of people waiting. We don't need receiving crowds and all this stuff. It just needs to be quiet. I had students last year say it was really noisy outside my room and I couldn't think with my SP. But that same person was one of the big talkers once they were out of the room. So it's like, okay, you are the noise to somebody else that you didn't like for yourself. So you have to think about that. But 15 minutes before and in your packet, it is just very methodical what you do and when to get through it. You will complete your scheduled SBIRT session with your assigned standardized patient. The schedule is already posted. If there's anything wrong with that schedule, I mean anything, tell Monica immediately, tell her tonight, we'll start messing with it, but I need that schedule done. It should work. It's not a big deal. Even if you are in Good Shepherd in the morning, I would not have put this if I thought there was all this wind up. You can be ready to go and do fine even if you're in Good Shepherd. You might actually be in better form if you're in Good Shepherd because you're used to talking to patients and different people in the day. The standardized patient will give you verbal feedback in the room. You will have 15 minutes to do your SBIRT thing, okay? And then there are 10 more minutes where they will tell you some things and they fill out a check sheet, you know, the evaluation form. It's excellent to listen to what they say. You need to really tune into how they respond to you. You are going to write a self-reflective paragraph, 100 to 200 words. 100 words is about 4 or 5 sentences if you write, you know, kind of bigger. It's not that big of a thing. Don't get all wound up in the word count. I'm more interested in self-reflection. If your self-reflection says things like, it was kind of noisy, I felt like the SP didn't do this, that is not self-reflection, that's complaining. I mean, it really is, it's criticizing, I want criticism of self, critique self. It's all about you. I felt very prepared. I felt I did good in opening the dialogue. I felt I missed some chances in the interaction, and you may say what those are. I feel like I didn't close well. There can be a lot of things that you can say, but they have to be about you. You can say, I didn't feel particularly good at it. I don't feel like I'm ever going to learn this. I would rather hear those types of things because they're honest. So when you write your reflection, I need real, earthy, real, honest, real, in the dirt, real. That's what I want. It's not about, you can tell me, I just think I'm terrible and I'm never going to learn how to do this. That's A+, because that's honest. If you're messing with me, I know that too. So I just need truth. Okay? But you're going to do that. And there's 3 prompts, and these are actually the ones I'd like you to think about for your self-reflection. insight about areas you perceive to be a strength with this method. You will have things where you think you're really good. The SP might not think so, and you can talk about that. I mean, I'm serious. You may think you're better at something than they do. Insight about where you, but if the SP criticizes you, do not use your reflective episode, your reflective paper to justify and defend yourself. That's again defense, that's not self-reflection. Just take it as a piece of the information and tell me about you. Okay. B, insight about where you feel you need to improve with this method. And then C, subjective sense of how it felt to interact with the patient. I like that. Sometimes you can feel like, I just don't feel like I had any control over it. I felt like they ran me over. I felt like I'm just no good. I feel like I am afraid in the room. Why? I think that's okay. That's normal. You're going to have patients where when you leave the room, you're going to go, man, I messed that up big time. And you're going to go bill for money. People you'll bill. But that's normal. You will submit a hard copy of each assignment to me. The documents you submit will include your self-reflective paragraph attached to your standardized patient's written assessments. We will get you that written assessment. When they do it, I'm still trying to figure out the logistic of how to do it. If I feel like we can turn around while you're there, I would do that. I just don't know if it's going to create a mess. If you get an SP that won't fill them out until near the end of the session, then you'll have to go on. If they will do what I want them to do in the 10 minutes afterwards, then I will have it to give to you so you have that to work on your reflective essay. I need you to have their comments in your hand before you finish your reflection. You can write down your immediate thoughts, but you need to look at their comments too. I've given you deadlines here. The SBIRT on alcohol is Wednesday afternoon. The assignment, the self-reflective essay comes back when you walk over there for depression. So you've got all the time up until the next one. So when you come in, your ticket for admission is I want a self-reflective paragraph, okay, on that deal. Short. And then for the SBIRT on depression, that's on Friday the 13th. Oh Lord, I just love that date. I don't need any more stuff like this. But it's Friday the 13th that we'll be in here in depression. And you will bring me your reflective essay before your final exam on Monday in behavioral health. That's your ticket for admission. No paragraph, no ticket for admission, zero. You do the math. It's not good. Okay. Nobody's going to forget. On Friday the 13th, after we finish everything over in Kramer West, we are going to have a debrief session up here. And the gang will be back. And we will have food brought over here, and it will be a session where we're going to talk to you about what you have learned over the course of this week with this SBIRT method in pros, cons, whatever. But it's going to be about what you've learned. So that's going to be the open part. So that'll be in this room, okay? And you'll have your food. The other thing that we're going to do, and I'm still kind of weaving this in, there's an evaluation form that the SBIRT Collaborative does at the end of the whole process. So once you're done with the depression piece, they have a form. It's 5 minutes to fill out something like that, just on your experience with SBIRT that we will then give back to them. I'm thinking that we'll just have them outside the room when you finish, when you're done with the SP, come out, sit at the desk, fill it out, give it to me, and then go, which I think will make the most sense. So I will be very clear about what that's going to be. Okay, we're just trying to figure out how much time and where we put the paper and stuff like that. And then that will be that. And then,
except for 30 days later,
yeah, so
we have to show up again and have you do a 30-day evaluation.
I believe you handled that last year.
I did.
You just scanned them to me, and
I
that's
think
fine.
we did. We will do a 30 days after you've done this. There's a follow-up, so it's kind of looking at after you've had dust settling and you've thought about it or used a little bit, what else do you think about that? We'll get it done. We'll coordinate time to get that piece.
Definitely. And it's even shorter than the first one. So.
Okay. And then one last little piece about everything here. I will be putting out learning objectives for this session today. Just wanted to wait until we had done it to be sure I knew exactly how it unfolded. It will be things, I need you to know what the techniques are, what the sequencing of techniques are, those types of things. And then I will also do some things on the exam that are important. I might give you a little paragraph of an exchange between some folks, and then I'll say, using, which of the following is your best, would be your best response if you were offered an affirmation, what types, or I may give you an interaction, say what method are they using. I just want you to understand those ORS skills, because you really have to be thinking about them. You really have to be thinking about doing it. And so I want you to know it, name it, be able to see it, pick it out. It is not rocket science. If you do this week, you can do those questions. If you don't do this week, the questions won't matter. But it'll be easy. You'll do fine with that. And let me see if there's one more thing. I will probably not have your objectives to you until tomorrow. Okay. So don't get mad at me about that. I think, are there any other questions? Okay. This afternoon was just to re-emphasize, it's all about skill development. This is about talking about a skill, thinking about a skill, practicing a skill, and then you get to do it 2 more times. I am hoping by Friday afternoon you feel a little more competent to address sticky issues. This happens in practice all the time. And some providers do not know how to address sticky issues. In fact, they just don't. And I need you to feel like you have phrases, ways to think about going after those kinds of things. They're the most important things, and they're often overlooked because people are uncomfortable. Well, I'll make them mad if I say that. No, positive assertions not making people mad. They might choose to respond in anger, but there's nothing wrong with being positively assertive. That's actually healthy. All right, I think that's it. And then, but there is one thing I just want to show you. I went too fast. Okay, grading method, what does that look like? Here it is quickly. There are 70 points total for this whole SBIRT to do. There's alcohol case, depression case. SP evaluation for the first form is 10 points, and the reflective paragraph is 20 points. Here's the way it is. There are 7 areas to address. If you look at the evaluation form, it tells you what the areas are. Okay. If you address 6 or 7 of the 7, you get 10 points. See, you can miss something to still make 100%. You can get 4 or 5 out of 7, it's 90%. And if you only get 1 to 3 out of 7, it's 8 points. You can make 80% or above no matter what. I don't want you worrying about passing, but I do need you to pay attention to the areas. It's hard to make less than 90. I mean, really, you'll have to work at it. If you get down there, then you're really probably flubbing a lot, within the interaction. The reflective paragraph is 20 points. I want it weighted more heavily. There's 2 deductions you get. Turn in late, that's 2 points, that's 10% down. 2-point deduction that's not self-reflective. I've already been over that. I want self-reflection. I feel, I should, I could do, blah, blah, always in this direction. Depression case, the SP evaluation is 20 points. I doubled it because I knew from last year people felt like they did better, and I think you will do better. But again, same kind of grading form, it's just double, 20, 18, 16, based on the number of areas you address. You will address the areas. I'm not worried about that. And then the same thing on the reflective paragraph. So 70 points, that's 10% of your final grade. So both exams are 45%, 45%. 10% comes down to this. This is how the 10% is derived. There is no reason why you should not get a big chunk of the 70 points, if not all of them. Okay? Yes?
Are we gonna have this little card with the triangle in it in our room?
Yes, you can
Or are we
take
bringing
You
it?
bring it.
Bring
No,
it.
you bring it.
You bring it.
I'd say
That's
bring
your
it.
set.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while you brought that up, because I've been wondering, on depression, there's no card.
Okay.
So you can still kind of steal and use the ruler from one of your other cards, it'd be fine. But you don't have cards, so you're not going to rely on that as much. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Think about, we did have a slide on some of the things to look for behavioral activation kinds of things for depression that you can help throw out there to your patients. Okay? I think depression's easier because you're going to feel more skilled, but it's harder in that it's not quite as structured as the alcohol.
It's the disease itself is a little more freeform.
Exactly.
In each of these cases, there are both men and women. So I'm looking at the alcohol case. I really want y'all to look at your logistical part. 25-minute sessions, 15 running. It'll be the same thing. 15 minutes you get there. Leave your backpack in the same space where you always do, the holding room. Take your seat in the student lounge in the hallway. We'll give you a chance to ask questions about it one more time before you go in there if anything's still lingering. There's a very short review of what's expected. As I said, you'll be escorted to the room 2 to 3 minutes before, and then you'll be given a signal to go in to begin, and then you'll do that. You'll get a 2-minute warning when you hear a knock on the door, and then you know you're kind of wrapping up, and then when you get the next knock, you're done, wherever you are. And very often, you will end up in the middle of something. It's okay. It's just okay. Because you're just working with somebody, depending on how they do, you could actually be doing fantastic, up to that point. So it won't matter so much. Just keep working towards being effective. You got 10 minutes with the SP. They will probably spend, I've asked them to spend maybe 4 to 5 minutes giving you verbal feedback and you talk to them, and then I want them to use the other 5 minutes to write things on your paper, and then you go out in the hallway and be done for the day. Then you pick up your stuff and then you leave. If you look on both of these cases, they give you goals. Your goal as a student is to, in the first one, address the fact that your patient scored outside the low-risk category on the audit. Help the patient link his or high blood pressure to his or her risky alcohol consumption. That's the health risk they have. They came, when you read the case, you'll find this person came because they got a high blood pressure reading at a place where they checked it. And then in the screening, you figure out the alcohol link. So they're concerned about one thing, you find something else, and your job is to begin linking those two behaviors together, this behavior and this finding together using SBIRT techniques. Explore the patient's motivation to reduce his or her drinking, and with patient's permission, assist in negotiating a plan. And then it goes on down. Note the exam has already taken place. This is not a classic SPBO. You are actually entering in near the end of a visit. It's more near the end. So all the front end stuff is already going to be given to you, so you don't have to go in there and check blood pressure and weight and all this stuff. It's really about the dialogue at the end. Okay? There are many points to keep in mind. I'm not going to go over all of these, but you should read them. It really is a good guide. Here's just one. Please remember to be non-judgmental, to put your patient at ease. I have asked them specifically, if you're judgmental and directive, I've asked them to become more and more resistant. So if you don't treat them right, they're going to be hard to work with. So that's going to be your guide. If you're kind of off the mark, then you're going to be getting signals. So I will emphasize that again. And that's the way it is with real patients. You judge them, you don't listen, you become directive, they start backing up, and they have full permission to back up on you. So if that's going on, we need to kind of repair that. Kind
I
of
might
repair
also
this.
jump in and say
Yeah.
that, a good outcome is, you might think you've had a good outcome and be done in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Probably not. Try to use your time and go ahead and experiment. I mean, use the time so you can have more practice, if nothing else. Feel
Yeah.
free, that's your time to use. And so I'd like to see you use it. You can have a good session with a patient in 4 or 5 minutes, I guess, but it's going to be a better session if you can go more toward the 8 to 10.
I think you have plenty of time to really explore with that patient, so you don't have to worry about jumping to and snapping to and trying to get through, because that really will blow up what you want to do with that person. So you got plenty of time to relax. We actually extended the time a little bit more so that you didn't have to feel the pressure of the clock, because that actually gets in the way of a lot of primary care providers with patients right now, is they sense the clock and they need to start shutting you down, so they need to tell you stuff because my time is running out. And I need you to feel relaxed. I need to figure out where you are so you can choose to do something different. When you get directive, I'm telling you, your outcomes with patients go down. They will flat out go down. I've been there, seen it, know it, you cannot do that. So somewhere between efficiency and listening is what you have to work towards all the time. Here's the Miss Anderson case, they give you the background. Here's her audit form already filled out. Here's her score. Here's Mr. Anderson, here's his score. So the men and women have different scores, but it puts them in the same zone. Okay, so you have to know that. And then here's their medical history, gives you a little bit of background, and then that's that. So you got all you need, really. It's not hard. It's a lot of paper, but it's not hard. It's actually, it sets you up for a good learning experience.
Will
Okay?
we be given their audits?
Yeah.
It's already there.
in there.
It's
No,
not-
I meant at the, on like the little clipboards for SBIRT.
Oh.
Or would we have to remember that?
Do you know,
You
I-
can print everything out and bring it with you.
actually, that's probably the best way,
Yeah.
other way to manage your stuff. You've got it, you can print it out and take in there what you want to take in
Yeah.
there, no big deal. If you want to take vitals in there, medical history, I don't care, it's not the issue. Okay?
That's really best. We've tried putting it up on the board, but sometimes someone takes it with them, and then the next person may not have the case up there. So if you print off whatever it is you want to take in the break, and I do suggest you take the audit in, because that's a way you'll kind
You need
of
to
go
show
over
it to
stuff
them.
with your patient and have some more discussion about their grading patterns and their ideas.
That's it. Any questions? If you have any, send them to me. I'm watching, I'm on the email like 24/7. So I'm looking, and I'll get your response back. You'll do fine. Don't get nervous. Enjoy it. Look forward to doing it. It's really fun to do. It's good stuff. See y'all later.
Thank you.
Sarah, you're accurate.